The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. InRavio.com.
Welcome to our special Planet of the Apes edition of Nerdgasm. I'm here with my spectacular panel, Adriana Amaya.
Hello.
Always coming has been a Nerdgirl in the past. She was on our Batman episode, and everybody's good. If everybody's good at home and we have some time, we're going to replay her Nerdgirl segment. And to my left was our Batman Nerdgirl as well.
Yep.
And what's your name again?
Deborah.
Deborah Hills, that's right. And she was on last week, and she's coming. She had such a good time, she came back this week. Now, being that this is our special Planet of the Apes edition of Nerdgasm, I want it to look as apish as possible, and grow in my beard a little bit. But the problem with this facial hair is that it grows in kind of unevenly and stuff. Do you girls have that problem?
Oh yeah, all the
shaving?
time. I gotta shave I shaved actually 5 minutes before I came here. It was horrific.
You get rid of it completely.
It's a Spanish thing. Oh, damn it. Okay. Oh well, we're gonna have to just deal with it.
So today we're dealing with the series, the Planet of the Apes, all of the Planet of the Apes movies, to lead up to the July 11th release of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which has got an amazing advanced review. And we're going to start off with the 1968 movie, directed by Franklin Schaffner. Now, from the beginning, I got introduced to the series very late because all I knew of Planet of the Apes is it was like the film series that my dorky friend, couldn't stop talking about, and whenever I looked at clips of it, it looked extremely stupid. You got like people in monkey costumes, and I didn't get it, and I didn't give it a chance. Until a few years ago, as a fluke, I picked up the first film, and suddenly I got hooked, because a few factoids on the film is it's based on a 1963 French book, and I believe the direct translation of that title was Monkey Planet. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, this series is the most monumental example of cautionary tales I think I've seen in fiction. Everything's all about how we're going to destroy each other and how we're going to be, wiped out, et cetera, et cetera. It is pretty, when you look at it very closely, it's amazing that this was a 1968 film. The script is, I find the script on the first film extremely sharp, and it's rife with metaphors. And, metaphors that I think in the time, they're controversial now, let alone at the time. You have basically some slams at religion, if you look closely at the first film, and the ape culture. There's a lot of when you look at the whole series, the original ones, there's a lot of kind of negativity toward religion and how people handle religion. But the history of how this film came about in 1968 was that after getting rejected from every studio, 20th Century Fox said yes, and but that wasn't before they had to take a screen test to make sure, because the head of 20th Century Fox had a very truthful question, which was, are people going to laugh at this? Think about it. You have a film with people in ape costumes,
right?
That actors are doing scenes with, and it's a planet of monkeys. Think of it.
Yeah.
It is a ridiculous concept.
It is pretty funny. I did think that myself. Running around in monkey suits.
And it is amazing how much better the film turns out to be than it is far better than it has any right to be, really.
It is so true.
1960. It's a planet of apes.
Yeah.
Get that. Put that through your head. A planet of apes. And somehow this makes for a good storyline.
Yeah,
You know? But it deals with like a reverse evolution metaphor, because I think
Right.
you know the Scopes trial, you know, was still on people's minds. Did man evolve from ape, and now you have that reverse, you know, point of
Reverse
view.
the whole idea.
Right, and you had people, you know, in a different time, different culture, different species, having this reverse question of did apes evolve from man? So you had a lot of really clever metaphors. So you know what? There's a few funny things about the film before I get into kind of the strengths of the film. Isn't it funny how when everybody wakes up from the long sleep, you know, after Charlton Heston, you know, gives us all the exposition in the opening scene, we'll be flying over.
I like that opening monologue.
It's good, but it's very Charlton Heston. And when everybody wakes up, their beards are so evenly, you know, like so even. They still got their makeup on.
Well, they were frozen, you know. So
Frozen,
maybe
but their
hair
beards
particles-
grow very. Apparently, the freezing is very good for their cosmetics.
I
and,
guess
and for their
so.
facial everything. It's not like my beard. It's not like if they grow. If I woke up from that sleep, I'd have like half of like 3/4 of a beard here. There'd be a big empty patch right here. Somebody wakes up looking spectacular after, you know, except for the woman who turned out
Right,
to be dead
just
in her
turned out to
sleep. She
die
didn't look too
and-
good.
I know.
You know? And so the point that I was going to make just earlier, because I'm a little fragmented, because my pad of notes right here, there's just a little few too many, because I don't want to do the whole episode like this. So there was a screen test done before the film began production, which was to prove to the head of 20th Century Fox that this would not be ridiculous. And in that screen test, it was Charlton Heston and Edward G. Robinson. I would like to thank Timmy Packer in the chat room. By the way, I don't have chat room access right now. But Timmy Packer in the chat room recommended that I check out Behind the Planet of the Apes, which is a great documentary about the makings of this whole series.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's terrific, you know. And one of the things I mentioned is this screen test that was done for 20th Century Fox with Edward G. Robinson as Dr. Zayas, I think. And that proved to 20th Century Fox that you could take this seriously enough and that it wouldn't be a just total farcical experience. You know, so now we move into the film itself. Comes out in 1968. Was like a $40 million hit, which by the standards of that thing was very good. And in rewatching it, I was very impressed with how Schaffner really moved the camera, executed things. The film has a lot of scope. The film has a lot of scale, and in terms of what he does with the cameras is very impressive. You have literally like the scene when they're entering the orbit. It looks like the camera's propped to the very head of the spacecraft as they're landing into the ocean. So a lot of ambitious things for 1968. It's so well beyond its time, but it winds
It's well
up
executed.
unlike a lot of today's films. You know, Transformers is the ultimate go-to film in terms of Hollywood at its most vacuous, where you have terrific visuals and a very convoluted story. But in this blockbuster, the equivalent of a 1968 blockbuster, you had just a lot of depth to it, which was impressive, and you had a lot
really
of
was
good
impressive
dialogue.
for its time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we didn't really have as much technology as we do now. So
Which
for
what
what
makes
they-
it rely on story.
Right,
You know,
and
more.
it's so, and they're able to like carry the story successfully enough, you know, and portray it, and it really is a great film in so many aspects.
Now, Deb, you're new to this series, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now what's your impression seeing it for the first time, like this first one?
Well, I had to get over like that it was a lot older than movies I'm used to seeing because I wasn't born then. So, but it was really interesting to watch. Really, I liked the storyline. It was a little bit slow moving, the movies, but it's because there's so much information. But
They're trying to convey.
Yeah, there's
and,
so much to.
And trying to like lead up to it, you know.
Yeah.
and I could see how it could be slow, but once like it happens, you
But I
see
don't
the
mind
apes.
slow moving movies as long as there's good storyline and it does move.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just there's so much information to get out of it.
And then once the apes come out on horses, then you're just totally drawn
Yeah.
to it. And like you don't even realize how fast
like,
or how
oh,
much
now
time
it's
there is
action
in this film.
movie.
Right.
But I mean, I mean, you could look at this film as, it's really a sci-fi film, sci-fi first, action first.
Yeah.
And look at the strength, in my opinion, that this film has over the Tim Burton version, which is an action film first and a sci-fi film second. The priorities are out of...
Not many people liked that one.
Yeah, but part of the problem was it's sort of about, okay, how do we justify the action, whereas the original one, I think, had a lot more thought in terms of let's just make a solid storyline that people would follow. I like a film that's a slow burn. I mean, that one of the reasons why I didn't respond much to Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead so much is because it wasn't a time to acclimate to the action. It just kind of throws you in after like 2 minutes of steadiness. And I prefer a film that slowly introduces you to the world. I mean, when they land on the planet and they're exploring, it reminds me of like films that follow, when like C-3PO, R2-D2 are across the desert terrain and on Tatooine. Scenes like that, they set the mood. And I think that a slow opening, and it's not really that slow, let's be honest.
No, it's not at all. Like I said, it's a little bit slow moving, but there's just so much that they have to convey through the movie that...
You know what's interesting? As I rewatch the series, which I did over the last couple of days, is how much more often zooms were used in that time period. The zooms went completely out of vogue circa the mid-1970s. And when Spielberg did Munich and trying to capture the 70s feeling, he actually incorporated zooms into it to kind of give you the feel of the 70s. So I think the telephoto lens was more created in that time frame, so all the filmmakers were like, hey, let's zoom in.
Yeah, and they used it specifically to help the viewer feel, oh, this is supposed to be shocking, let's quickly zoom in, like the first shot when the apes come in on the horses, that's the first zoom that I noticed. I don't know if you can recall that, but that's what I get.
But it's funny how a technique like that becomes so, went the way of disco. And you rarely see it beyond the 1970s. And I personally like it, but it does jar you for a second. It does throw you out. And the sequels had with each one a little bit less. So now, as far as the lead, Heston, I met Charlton Heston when I was in college for a year, and
really,
yeah, he was very graceful. My 1 year at college, but he was a very graceful person. He had all the patience in the world, and I think that when you see him in an interview, you're really getting what I saw of him. He dealt with us, with our students, for more than 20 minutes of questions, and he was just game the entire time. So even though I had a couple classmates that are like, Charlton Heston, rah, 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 Mr. NRA, I don't care. A man's politics is a man's politics. He just seemed like he was like a honest, good human being, from what I was able to gather. Of course, I mean, I didn't witness him molesting a sheep between classes, but that didn't happen. But I remember I even had a classmate walk up to him as he was signing everybody. Somebody had him sign the Bible. Could you autograph him? Because he's Moses. He's
yeah,
Moses.
that's right. He was Moses.
Somebody had him sign a big long staff that he found in the woods of Santa Fe.
That's awesome.
And he was like, sure, man. I remember the staff was got a bit longer than this one. But the thing with Heston is he's an interesting actor because his performance is kind of heightened. He brings a kind of Heston-ness, cockiness to it. But I like it. It works. I mean, he's a very distinct actor, and I think that his strengths work in this film. I think, you cast him wrongly, it doesn't work at all. But I think he comes off as this kind of headstrong, cocky guy, and it works. I think it works very well. I mean, he has a couple of moments, what, damn you! Gets a little over the top.
I mean, he's definitely, defined some famous lines, the get your dirty paws off me, you filthy apes, something like that. And then the ending where he's like, damn you to hell, and the Statue of Liberty.
The way I described him in my notes was that he's got a cheesy stud kind of quality. He's a bit showy, he's a bit hammy, not Rod Steiger hammy, but hammy nonetheless. What did you think of him as a lead? Because you probably haven't seen much Charlton Heston stuff, right?
No.
What do you think of him?
No, I liked it.
You liked him as an actor? He had a certain kind of presence.
He just seemed like a tough guy.
Yes, a tough kind of
like the hot, tough guy of the crowd. I know what I'm doing, and everybody follow me, even if it's wrong.
He was the Brad Pitt of that time, so
I don't know if he would even agree with that notion.
just simplifying it
By the
for
way,
modern viewers. But
Do you notice that the female that he discovers? First of all, there was that weird scene where Kira, what's her name? Ah, my poster! Ah!
no!
The show is over. Do you notice the female of the bunch still has lipstick on? It's like this, like.
Are you talking about Nova, the hot cave woman? Oh my God.
She still has lipstick on. It's like the future
She
society.
did. I thought so. I couldn't tell.
Oh, well, I guess I guess it's man
Find some
became.
berries, you put it on your lips.
Man became so shiny berries. Became so unsophisticated, but yet still had the ability to, gloss her lips.
I know, somehow. I mean, maybe some like beeswax or honeydew. It's got to be something.
Something really has to be complimented about the series, and that's the soundtrack by Jerry Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith. Are we down to 1 point? No, it's the same one.
It just finally fell all the way.
Cute hair flip.
Yes. Do you like that? My Heston hair flip. You ready? Camera back at me.
Camera back.
And, there we go.
Oh, there we go.
And so,
That's glorious.
and so there's this Jerry Goldsmith score. Now, Jerry Goldsmith was a groundbreaking musician who really came out from that time period. And the soundtrack, it has stuff that is so otherworldly. It really sells the feeling of a different time. Goldsmith was a master. A lot of people consider him like the top 2 or 3 composers of all time. He started off on Twilight Zone and then he merged into the movies. And I think without that score, and the film's not quite what it is. If you were to listen to the score just raw, it's tough to listen to, but because it's very didactic, chaotic, and using a lot of different instruments that aren't typically used. But it just highlights and underlines everything in the movie so well.
Yeah.
He only returned in one of the sequels, and you could tell without his touch there, it's not quite the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's 2 things about this series. I want to ask you girls, and I want to ask the people at home that sort of bug me a little bit. Okay, one is Charlton Heston, Taylor. He's shot in the throat. I don't know if you get past that. He's shot in the throat because it's convenient for the plot. Well, we need him not to speak right now, so let's shoot him in the throat. You don't just suddenly start talking normally like you did before when you get shot in the throat.
No, and you don't lose your voice when you get shot.
Yeah,
You die.
Yeah, I don't know how he recovered from getting shot in the throat and just is like with a Band-Aid around his neck. Hey,
Right.
I'm ready to talk again, and just starts talking back to his normal self. So it always bugged me. That's a plot convenience.
Yeah.
And
I think there was a meaning in that. I had it before, it's kind of like a backlash at humanity, let's take away your voice, and then what do you have left, so to speak. That's the artist in me.
Did you think that there was
I know what
something
I'm talking about.
just a bit contrived about the throat injury magically healing? First, it doesn't kill him. Secondly, just magically heals.
Yeah.
And
Well,
he's
they could have done a little bit better with the makeup. Like when he got shot, you can see it was just like fake blood sitting on his neck.
And a
I
hole.
really noticed that, so. But that's why it was
Yeah.
really not believable for me. I was like, all right, well, I
Yeah,
guess he
but
got
it
shot in the
definitely.
throat.
Yeah, but it definitely.
But for
propelled
him
the
to just
story.
start talking like that one famous line, "Get off me, you damn dirty apes," or
Get
however it
your paws
goes.
off me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to just talk and project like that. You'd be very quiet and raspy.
And here's
But
a
it takes progress to get to that tone again.
scale of 1 to 10. What do you give the film?
The first one?
First one, scale of 1 to 10. We're gonna
Honestly,
review.
because I love it so much, a 10.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. How about you?
I was going to
Deb?
give it an 8.
8, so you got
It's an
8?
eight, yeah.
Okay, so we got 10, 9, and 8. After I make this next point, we're going to head out to a commercial, but here's something I want to ask you about. This always bugged me about the series. These are apes, but apes in these movies seem to be human size. And I don't get, are they actual apes that we see in nature that are yay big, but somehow just taller?
I think that's what they were trying to go for. But
But
I mean,
this
they're
is the
half
thing.
human, half ape.
Yeah.
So they years living on the planet, I'm sure they evolved and, became more stoic, straight back, longer legs, you know.
I guess, but I
When
always.
you see a monkey, they're all crunched over.
Yeah.
They give you, put them upright.
Yeah.
So I
Their
mean,
legs
when you,
straight.
a monkey standing up straight is still only about 4'5"
Yeah,
at most.
that's true.
I always had a hard time buying that this was the next, that these are monkeys. I mean, in Rise, they
Right.
sell that a bit better because
Yeah.
the size isn't so bizarre. So we are going to head out to commercial break. When we come back, I am going to tell you an anecdote about a little fun behind-the-scenes story about the first movie. So come on back. You're watching Nerdgasm, the finest hour
in Ravio.com. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Like catching a cold or a flu.
You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural,
And organic.
but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience.
Whenever you want us.
We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment.
For free.
Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. Paul Brown and the Killing Devils. Alternative progressive rock like you've never heard before. Over 1 million views on YouTube. New York City Village Voice says Paul is a gifted singer, songwriter, and musician with one of the best progressive rock bands on the planet. LA Underground Music Exchange calls him the only modern American band to cover every genre well. Pick up the albums Black Widow Tears, Red Spider, and The Wizard's Dawn, now on iTunes. And get to facebook.com/Killing Devils to keep up with the latest info. InRavio.com.
Welcome back to Nerdgasm. I promise you an anecdote from the set of the first movie when we were back. So, when they were making the original Planet of the Apes movies, biggest budget film of the bunch, they had all the actors in 3 sets of makeup. You had orangutans, you had the simians, and you had the other group, which I'm not familiar with, the chimpanzees. And so every actor was one of the 3 races. When it came time for the lunch break, this societal anomaly happened. Everybody,
I read that.
Everybody who looked like one sat with its own kind. So the orangutans sat with the orangutans, the chimpanzees sat with the chimpanzees, and
The gorillas
sat with the gorillas. So it goes to show you that's like a reflection of society. What you think you look like, you gravitate toward. And also seems to be a metaphor in terms of why people tend to be a little closed-minded at times. And so it's like, say what, Matt, in the control room?
Not like people look like their dogs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
That expression, like people, like, hold on, let me get on. So, like, there's an expression like people look like their pets.
Right.
So it's kind of the same thing. People gravitate towards animals or pets that look similar to their characteristics. Like people that like poodles generally have permed hair. It's not really a coincidence. If you look
Are
at
you
it that
saying
way.
that I got a guinea pig that looks like me?
I can see it.
If it needs a hot oil treatment,
It's a
then
good thing.
maybe, I don't know.
Well, it's actually a different point than the one that I was making, but an interesting one nonetheless. That's okay.
Sorry. It's okay. Every opinion matters.
Right. 1970 brought us Beneath the Planet of the Apes, which I think is probably one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen in my life. This film, ladies and gentlemen, was rated G by the MPAA. What was the standard of the MPA in 1970? The entire world blows up. They have people shot in the head. They have a race of people whose skin is completely destroyed by radiation who reveal themselves. It is one of the darkest films I've ever seen, despite the 1970, and they rated it G. Yet 2 years prior, Midnight Cowboy was rated X because an actor went down on another one off screen in a movie theater, and they're like, oh my God, don't let the children see that. But let them see everybody on the planet die. Give that a G rating, but Midnight Cowboy, let's give an X to. So the rating system clearly needed to be rethought at that point in time. So this is the film that, as a child, I saw it on TV, like the local TV station when I was a little kid, and this traumatized me badly.
I can completely understand
Freaky,
why.
yeah.
It freaked me out, and I watched it like a few weeks ago.
As an adult, you
Yeah.
watched it.
As an adult, it still freaked me out. So that's telling you something right there.
I mean, from the veiny humans to them worshiping an atomic bomb. Like, are you kidding? Holy crap!
It's clear.
Oh, hail the bomb.
This film was directed by Ted Post, who was the director of Hang 'em High. Interesting choice of director. Very bold movie. But clearly trying to top the weirdness that they had in Planet of the Apes. But I think they maybe went a little too far. I like it. They managed to do a pretty damn good job of like, how are you going to continue the story? How are you going to continue the story with the human anchor? The idea is that people from the same time period as Charlton Heston's character went looking for him and followed the same trajectory. The downside is that when this character lands, you wind up with a lot of the same beats as you did in the first film, and you wind up with a little bit of a repeat, with the character discovering, that he's on the Planet of the Apes. Studios
Finally,
believe
Apes getting caught running away.
Right. Studios believed in a law of diminishing returns, so they chopped the budget. So it was $2.5 million versus a $5 million budget.
Yeah, it wasn't a budget.
Yeah, so you wind up having, they're not able to necessarily get the same scope that they would hope to. And it shows in certain scenes. When you have the two apes in a sauna talking to each other, it shows. The budget shows.
You know what was funny? He didn't want a sequel. And
Heston, right.
Right, and he thought it ended perfectly, that's it, you shouldn't touch it. But the studios practically begged him, oh, you gotta make a sequel, it was so successful, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay. And then he also, in the reasoning for the ending where, sorry, spoiler alert, they blow up the planet.
Darkest ending of all time. Darkest ending of all time.
Yeah, they blow it up because the director was like, I don't want to make any more movies. Now, there's no way there can be a third one, but they still managed to make it.
The writers of the series are, if nothing else, extremely clever at coming up with concepts that allow them to make more sequels. It seems like they have an ending that can't be that you can't follow up.
Right.
And then they come up with it.
Except if you get in a spaceship and then you somehow go back in time.
Right.
And then you're fine. Then you're okay.
General observations of the series is I think that Brett is a reasonable leading man. I did some research on him. I wasn't familiar with him. Basically, it seems like the criteria for being a leading man in a Planet of the Apes movie is that you have dirty blonde hair and a beard.
And you keep constantly getting lost in time and space.
Right?
That's just the thing
Oh, and
now.
you have to find Nova.
Right. Oh, right.
I think they did want an actor who looked close enough to Heston where the apes would confuse him for Heston, which is one of the plot points. Leonard Roseman does a score, replacing Jerry Goldsmith. Does a decent job, but the funny thing about Leonard Roseman, who started earlier with the movies like East of Eden, he's a classical composer, is that he always seems to do number 2 of a sequel of sci-fi movies that have lost their previous composer. So he did Planet of the Apes 2, he did Star Trek 4, he did RoboCop 2. He seemed to be the go-to guy when you couldn't get the original composer you wanted. Does a decent score, not quite, I mean, it's missing the Jerry Goldsmith touch. But still, it's still good. There is the stuff of the film that I like the best is all of the ruins of New York City. The New York Public Library in disarray, the subway system.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Radio City Music Hall, all of that stuff is really neat. Although when you look at the destroyed future, you see that they have a destroyed rotary phone. Well, you got that incorrect. By the time we destroy ourselves, we don't have rotary phones anymore. I think the story loses itself. I think it winds up going from a decent sequel to a very middling, nauseating sequel once you get introduced to these mole people, these underground people. And I'm sorry, when people communicate by thought,
Yeah, just like hums and beeps.
beep, like you threw a head nod, you lose me. You go too far. Beep.
Well, so I want to hear the other side of the conversation.
Yeah.
And then it's funny that the other actor's forced to say everything that they're saying. Oh, so you're saying I'm mad? Well, I'm not. Beep. Well, wait. It forces the other actor to say what that other character is thinking. I think it lost a little bit. It lost me a bit in that whole last sequence. And how 1970, when America was more conservative, and they have a bomb worshiping underground, where the holy peace, the peaceful bomb. I mean, that is totally analogous to today, where people almost worship when people could kind of worship guns, and they kind of equated as this holy weapon.
Yeah.
It's not, or even in the Middle East when war is sacred. It's pretty bold for 1970 film. This is extremely bold.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it also makes me nauseous. I mean, once they start pulling off their masks,
Then they succeeded at that.
and they end with the film. They end with this is the most apocalyptic ending of any film.
Oh,
it
absolutely.
wins the award, and I don't like it. It's almost like
And I don't like it. Man.
I give this film, I'm going to close out my review. I'm sure I'm forgetting something here. And I know there's a level of satire that's there, but I almost don't get it as satire. I think for a film of this concept, it takes itself a little too seriously, and they alleviated that by the next film. I give this film a 5 out of 10. It's the first film, a 9 out of 10. This film, a 5 out of 10. I don't hate it. I generally enjoy it, but it makes me sick. Okay, who am I gonna toss it over to?
I mean, I'm gonna have to agree, honestly, because giving it a 5 out of 10, because it was just, it's creepy.
And creepy's not necessarily bad.
No, not at all. It still had great storyline and movement. And
Well, honestly, I love that it creeps you out because that I think that's the whole point of filmmaking is to invoke your mind and make you think what if this were don't accept the reality you have. Maybe there's an alternate reality. You never know. You're gonna wake up one day and then there's apocalypse in your veins and then you're worshiping a bomb. It's absolute. So I love that they really go for it.
It's a bold film. I give them extraordinary points for daring to do it.
Right.
And by no means is it a bad film, but it's a severely messed up one, and you begin to want
a little twisted.
It actually pulled me out. The choices that they made as filmmakers pulled me out. It's too surreal. It's just a little too surreal for its own good, and there's not that same level. It managed. The previous film managed to have a little more reality to it, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You know, but yes, I stand by the fact it is the most depressing apocalyptic ending of all time.
It definitely tests humanity. You know, because,
Well, we're all damned, so we might as well just blow each other up.
because
End of story.
and ironically enough, you know, they're testing humans and like because they say they're the savages, and at the end of it, we prove that we actually are by blowing up the whole planet.
Right. You know, it's funny. It was Charlton Heston that said, "If you're going to bring me back, I want to die at the end." Okay, so not only did they kill Charlton Heston, they killed the entire planet. Mission
awesome.
accomplished.
That's awesome. Like, imagine your acting career. Like, I get to blow up a planet. That's so cool.
Thanks to me, this is why this happened.
I guess, you know, even, you know, spoiler alert on, what's the name of that film that came out recently, Cabin in the Woods. Spoiler alert on Cabin in the Woods. There's something somewhat comparable, but at least it had a sense of humor about its ending. And, you know, it had a sense of humor about the ending.
I loved that movie. I love things that are just like in your face, creepy.
But at the same time, you know, I think that more successfully accomplishes what, you know, what this ending does. Okay, we're going to move on to Escape from Planet of the Apes. But scale of 1 to 10, what's everybody get? You gave it
I gave
5
5.
out of 10?
I'd give it an 8.
8? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're on to Escape from Planet of the Apes. I love Escape from Planet of the Apes. I think it has struck the absolute right tone.
Wait, I'm sorry. Wolf Boy said something hilarious.
Wolf Boy said something. What did he say?
I feel like blowing up the planet once or twice a week. That's
You can only do it once, Wolf Boy, and then you can't do it again. So Escape from Planet of the Apes. So what do you do when you blow up a planet and you got no place to go? I'll tell you what you do. You go back in time.
There you go.
So, you know, I haven't given enough credit to Kim Hunter and Roddy McDowell as the lead apes in these films because they really, without them, without a performance of that caliber, you wind up with films that are inferior to this. Films that you can't believe, you can't follow, or you don't care to. And you know they really are the heart of the series. By the way, do you know that Kim Hunter, the one that plays the female lead?
Yeah, Zira. Mm-hmm.
She was Stella in Streetcar Named Desire, the one that Marlon Brando says Stella to. You know, she was Stella, and so you know she must have thought at that point of her career, what the hell am I being offered?
Yeah.
You know, I won an Academy Award in 1951. What the hell is this? So she, this story has a lot of heart. I think that this director, it's directed by Don Taylor. This is the only installment of the series that he did. It's so well done, and it's so smart. The screenplay is so sharp. I mean, performances like Bradford Dillman is more or less the human anchor of this film, and he, you know, I first saw him in a film called Compulsion as a Leopold, and he played Leopold or Loeb, you know, just a decade plus earlier. And he gives such a human heart, even though he's a madman in that film, but he gave such a human heart to this, and you really believe what he says. And I think that the writing is pretty much for sci-fi film, it's first notch. It has the tone absolutely right, whereas the tone in the previous film, it got sick, demented, and no longer fun. This film just rediscovered the heart of the series, and just from top to bottom, it's just, I felt very well executed and very well written, and it's what sci-fi is all about. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. And Jerry Goldsmith comes back to do the score. He only scored 2 of these films, and when his touch is there, it just elevates everything. Because it has a little bit of a disco funk to this movie.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's just the right note. So let me throw it over to you. Wait, did you see this one?
No, but I did my research, and it's actually, compared to the first 2 films, this one kind of had like a funny moment because, you know, they're among, you know, and they're being studied, and then they become celebrities, you know, so they kind of like soak that in, and it's kind of funny to watch that, you know? And then like it definitely takes a turn, and then they have a baby, and I liked this one. It was fun for me.
Spot on, Timmy Packer saying that Bradford Dillman kicked ass in the original Piranha movie. Absolutely right. He was terrific. You know, terrific. He was like, let's be honest, in the mid-1950s, he wasn't there yet. But like by the time this film came around, Piranha, he was a great leading man, and it's kind of too bad that he wasn't in more films.
Yeah, and thank you, Timmy Packer, for your lovely compliment to me.
And Timmy Packer is a long-term chatter here. He never compliments the girls, no matter how spectacular the girls are.
Flattered.
Yeah, he's got a little thing for you. He's
He's just being nice, of course.
So I gotta stop with this head motion thing. I'm becoming like a cartoon character. So I gotta say, by the way, Sal Mineo, from Rebel Without a Cause, 1950s actor who wound up dying tragically in the late 1970s, was one of the three apes in this film, and it's amazing the level of performance that you can bring to a character like that. He's in the film for 15 minutes, and he brings complete conviction. A lot of these actors who are the apes, even more so than in the later films, the Tim Burton one, really sell it, and it's so important. One interesting thing before I throw it over to you, Deb, is there's a monologue by Cornelius where he claims that the first words spoken by apes was no. And then Rise of the Planet of the Apes in 2011, that's the very first thing that Caesar says. So they played a lot of...
epic.
Yeah.
It's great.
Now, Deborah Hill, give us your review, since I forced you to watch all of these films.
You
want to be on the show? Watch them all. There's only 20 films in the series. Go ahead.
You didn't really push me to watch them. I wanted to watch them after I saw Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's just you pushed it a little bit sooner than I expected. It was in my plan.
There you go. And the truth has been spoken.
But I really did like the Escape from the Planet of the Apes. It was more like the comedy relief of the series.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it still had its darker moments. It's still.
Oh yeah, definitely. It definitely had some darker moments, like where spoiler alert, you find out Zira gives up the baby to the other gorilla. And,
Twist, really a twist. If you haven't seen these films, sorry, we're completely ruining them for you. But watch them anyway. Scale of 1 to 10, what do you give it?
This one I give like a 7.
7 out of 10. Okay, yeah, that's. What do I give it? Okay, I give this one an 8. Every installment of the series has got a different rating. It's got a different number. Okay, so we're going to head out to a commercial break. When we get back, we're going to quickly plow through the toxic waste of Conquest of the Planet of the Apes and move on to the rest of the series. So come on back. It's going to be good.
In Revio.com. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com. Paul Brown and the Killing Devils. Alternative progressive rock like you've never heard before. Over 1 million views on YouTube. New York City Village Voice says Paul is a gifted singer, songwriter, and musician with one of the best progressive rock bands on the planet. LA Underground Music Exchange calls him the only modern American band to cover every genre well. Pick up the albums Black Widow Tears, Red Spider, and The Wizard's Dawn, now on iTunes. And get to Facebook.com/Killing Devils to keep up with the latest info. For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. In radio.com.
Welcome back. I try to shock you as much as possible when we come back from commercial break, because you might have fallen asleep. So, like, when you come back, I want to be welcome back. So, we are now getting into Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Okay, this was 1972. They had a new movie a year, and each time the budget got lower. This time, it's really showing. I do not like Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Interesting concept. Hate the execution. Directed by J. Lee Thompson, who was the director of Cape Fear, the original Cape Fear film just a decade prior. He also went on to direct Battle of the Planet of the Apes. I find the execution of this thing ridiculous. I do not buy any of these monkeys as servants, as pets. Do not buy their depiction of 1991, the future. Of course, that works against them because they chose a time period. But even RoboCop was supposed to take place in 1988, and I still bought that future more than I bought their 1991. The idea of the future was apparently a bunch of men wearing black turtlenecks and black sport jackets, hammy villains that, just seemed over the top. I didn't like the style, I didn't like the feeling, didn't like the music. Loved the concept.
That's how you really feel.
Loved the concept of the film. Did not like the execution of the film. I go to chat rooms that are like, Conquest is the best sequel. What are you smoking? Seriously, it's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. So 4 out of 10. That's what I get. I'm not even going to give you any more time on that because I prefer to get to some of the other films in the installment. Deborah, your turn.
Okay, then. I mean, this one, it was definitely interesting watching Caesar. As he grew up, he wasn't really integrated with all the other servant apes and gorillas and everyone. And he went in there and he's like, well, why are they being treated like this? And then he had to go through it because of all the things that happened, because he spoke, and his owner had to really try to...
Yes?
Sorry, I got focused on you for a second.
Well, that happens. As a matter of fact, I hear that all the time. Just that too much out nested.
Doing things over there, and I'm like, wait.
What was I doing? I wasn't going like, oh, Deb, go do your show now. Go do your monologue. Okay. So, did you find that it's strange? What are you giving on a scale of 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, this one I give like a 6, 7.
Wow, you're very kind. To a film that had a bunch of completely unconvincing, apes, pets, doing in servant and then waiter uniforms. I mean, the concept is interesting. As a matter of fact, this concept became the basis of Rise, in the general foundation. Mm-hmm. But very different execution. I think that there was a very different film to be had here. I did not like what they chose. It's not to say J. Lee Thompson is not talented, and not to say that everybody in the film is not talented. They were just capable of a lot better. Speaking of better, I liked Battle of the Planet of the Apes, despite the fact that this was, it's the same director, despite the fact that this might be critically the least received. But I felt it was back to the roots of what made the series more successful. I don't love it. I place it toward the bottom of the series, but I still give it a passing grade. I thought that, Roddy McDowall is back to anchor the film, and he always does an amazing job doing that. And I liked, some of the things I like is the villain played by the governor, the precursor to the mole people, was a very well played villain, much more so than the governor from the previous film. As a British actor, Cirque, what the hell was his name? Culp, Governor of Culp. I thought it was a strong suit of this film. I thought it had good pacing. And I liked a lot of the composition of the camera. I liked the return. You had a score that was a little more traditional with the series, Leonard Rosenman coming back. Though Paul Williams, the singer, the songwriter, doing a really good job, not as an actor. And it's like in his debut. He had monologues galore, and he sold it. It's a cheesy film, but I enjoyed it. I gave it a 6 out of 10. And how about you, Deb?
Timmy Packer says, Roddy McDowall did do a good job again as Caesar, though. Got to give him credit on that.
Absolutely. Deb, your thoughts on Battle? By the way, I'm completely neglecting Adriana because she hasn't seen this film. She wanted into it.
All good.
Like I said, he made me watch all of them.
Right.
But For Battle, it was definitely an interesting one. It definitely had some heartbreaking moments in it, like watching when the gorillas are in the
mist.
they're in the woods, and Caesar's son is going and spying because he's like, ooh, well, what's going on here? And he falls out of the tree because they noticed him and he's trying to get away, and like I felt bad for that. But like,
So you feel like the film had something. The film did have heart, and I think it was pretty well executed. I love the school bus. The villains are like driving a little school bus. That was neat because that's all that was left over in this post-apocalyptic society. I like the hopeful ending, and good work getting John Huston in a cameo. John Huston, one of like the most prolific directors and actors of all time, is a cameo in this film. How the hell did they arrange that? You want me to be in the 5th Planet of the Apes movie? Okay. I don't know how they. And one last thing, I love matte paintings. They look fake, but there's something so charming about them, and there's some like matte paintings in this film. So let's move on to the next 2 installments of the series. What do you, by the way, scale of 1 to 10?
Scale of 1 to 10, like a 7, 8.
Okay, sounds good to me. Planet of the Apes, Tim Burton's movie, somewhere around here. Oh, here we are, Planet of the Apes. Hey, look, my face is an ape. Okay. So it has a lot of the elements of the original, but my criticism before was that the emphasis is on action, and the emphasis is not on sci-fi. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's very interesting. This film has the best makeup effects of the entire series, and winds up being the second to the worst of the entire series. So technically, it had some terrific things. Mark Wahlberg, I do not think was a great lead for this. I think he's a very good actor, but there's probably a number of other actors who would have been able to have done a stronger job, in the lead of this. Sure. But it's also, I think Burton did something very unusual with apes. If you're going to dramatize an advanced ape, there's 2 things that he did that make sense on the page but don't really work too well. You can't have them act too much like an ape, which he did. Yeah. And they pantomime, and they get the pantomiming looks really ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's true. Lot of the performances as apes, I don't think they worked. Tim Roth, I think, was the standout of the actors in ape makeup that I think really did. And a little Michael Clark Duncan, a little in and out, but he's still good. But the rest of them, it's just like this. It seems silly. And somehow in the previous films, I never thought it seemed silly. Burton's choice on how to direct the actors, I think, really backfired. Yeah. And also, to quote Daniel Waters, who worked with Burton on Batman Returns, Burton has a very difficult time telling a story succinctly and in a fairly linear fashion. The story gets a little bit lost across the screen time. So whereas it has the highest production values of the series, it winds up being not a very satisfying film. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I got to give this a 5.5. 5.5. I saw this before. I saw the original 1968 movie, and I was like, hey, this isn't so bad. And when you see the original film, it really hurts it.
Yeah, it really
when
does.
I went back to revisit. So what were some of your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I thought that they definitely overacted the idea of the monkey and the chimpanzees, and it definitely killed it because, like we were saying before, is the idea of an actor trying to portray an intelligent, speaking monkey, at first seemed silly. But it was successful for the first 3, I haven't seen the other 2. But, and then in this, it proved that point, how it was silly, And they're jumping around and he's angry. I'm I wouldn't think Caesar or these intelligent monkeys, chimpanzees, sorry, they're offended by monkey, apes.
You speciesist.
Are, I wouldn't think they'd want to do that because they want to be taken seriously. They don't want to be treated like monkeys. It was a wrong choice, Burton. I'm sorry.
Okay, now Deb, your quick review because we want to.
I really don't. Well, this helps. I really don't remember it because I only saw it when it first came out.
Good to know. What do you give a scale of 1 to 10? What do we give it?
I'd give it a 5.5.
5.5. Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're just aping me, aren't you? I'm playing on words. Let's now go into Rise of the Planet of the Apes 2011 film by Rupert Wyatt. Okay, now when I was going into this film, I didn't have much enthusiasm to see it. The trailers weren't particularly good. Rupert Wyatt's only previous film was Escapist, and I didn't particularly care for it. But this film blew me away. It does what I try to do as a filmmaker. It explains and brings logic to outlandish concepts. It makes you believe how this could all happen. The references that it has to the previous films. By the way, this was a completely abandoned. The original idea for a sequel was completely abandoned. There was Mark Wahlberg and company were signed up for a sequel for the previous film, but when that was critically panned, they decided to start anew. And I think that this film was a brilliant way to start it. I think this is the best of the series. I love it pretty much from top to bottom. I thought this was a stellar film. I have a friend who hates James Franco. You could say that they could have done better with the lead, but he was still decent. And the subplot with John Lithgow losing, having Alzheimer's and his son trying to heal him, everything made sense to me. I mean, sure, the sparks didn't fly so terrifically between Franco and I don't know, someone's got to read me what the chat room is saying. There wasn't such tremendous sparks between like Franco and the romantic lead, but that's not really a big deal. Everything else about the film was top notch. We're running out of time, so Adriana, I want to toss this over to you.
Rise of Planet of the Apes. I absolutely loved it. I was in the theater and I was so excited. I mean, one of my most favorite moments is when Caesar says, "No!" I literally sat there and I said, this is going to go down in history as one of those famous no's from Star Wars to Lord of the Rings to Back to the Future, and here's another one. It was great. It was such a good film.
You could do a top 10 no's for movies.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andy Serkis was just fantastic as Caesar.
Absolutely. And Andy Serkis is now coming back to do
Dawn of
the new Planet of the Apes, but he's also like a cast in Star Wars. He's really taking off. Do you know that he also played King Kong in the 2005 version, the motion capture actor? So his experience. He was King Kong. I mean, he was the motion capture basis of King Kong.
No.
Yeah,
He was?
that's right. He looked so different in King Kong, didn't he?
Well, King Kong's King. Well, I guess it's not that hard to believe. He's fantastic. But that's awesome. I didn't know that.
It is awesome.
It is.
Deborah,
I love
let's
King
toss it
Kong.
over to you because we're running out of time.
Well, this was the movie that originally really got me into the series. That wanted me to watch the originals, and it was great storyline, great flow of the movie, and it really sparked my interest in the whole Planet of the Apes series.
Yeah, Caesar is he is like one of those awesome characters of our generation, 2014. Like, it's fantastic.
Scale of 1 to 10, what does everybody give it?
10.
I'll give it a 10.
I'll give it a 9.
9. Oh, you contrarian. Question of the week. Let's throw it up there. We don't have much time left in the show, but let's throw up the question of the week. And the question of the week will be, who was your favorite Caesar in film history? Now, Deborah, I'm going to start with you. Think about all the different Caesars in history. In film history, who was your favorite Caesar?
Pass.
Pass. So we'll get back to it.
I don't know.
You should think about, because you had Andy Serkis, you had Roddy McDowall, you have Dave Canfield playing Caesar. You had so who was your
different
favorite
Caesar.
Caesar?
Well, Roddy McDowall is a really great actor, and he's definitely underrated. But I have to go with Andy Serkis.
Okay, I have to go with Dave Canfield for his portrayal of Caesar in the Caesar and Other films. Now, Deborah, who was your? I just gave you some time. You can't pass.
Yeah, no, I have to say Roddy McDowall.
Canfield. Okay, Roddy McDowall. Okay. So, anyway, so I'm going to thank everybody for tuning in. Now, July 11th is the release of Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Are you going to be seeing it in the theater?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Okay, you gonna see it in the theater?
Yeah.
I'm absolutely going. Expect that a review in an upcoming edition of Summer Movies in just a few weeks. So thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you next week, most likely with another horror edition as we take on Carrie and Evil Dead movies. So thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you had a good time. Check for us in the archive. Check for us on Facebook. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.